what happens when you just do some resistance training in your life. So they took some chronically depressed, people who have been clinically diagnosed as depressed and have high anxiety in their life. They only did 2 bouts of exercise per week of resistance training, and they were only 25 minutes. So 25-minute workout 2 times a week. They did that for 2 months. The results were a 3 to 4x better than SSRIs, antidepressants. So it is incredibly powerful how much influence your body has over your mind. And so that's the gist of it. I wish this video would work for us. I need to figure it out. I believe it's a Discord issue. We just tested it on another server, so I apologize for that. But anyway, it's good stuff. And let me actually link this for you guys really quickly. For those of you who are interested, I'm going to send this link to you guys right now. I'm going to copy link address. Oh, perfect. Kia, you read my mind. There you guys. So that's actually the timestamp too. So you could jump right into the clip I was going to show you guys if you want to watch that after this. So just again, the mind-body connection is so powerful. We know that your skeletal muscle is in charge of hormones. It produces good hormones. It helps regulate hormones. And when you have excess adipose tissue, the fat tissue, that you also start to produce bad hormones from that adipose tissue. So it's a lose-lose if you're working out. It's a win-win, it's a lose-lose if you are not working out. It's a win-win if you are. So it's just a quick reminder for you guys that get outside, get sunlight, get your sleep schedule in line, get your diet right. But all this is not easy. It's a choice every single day. And I just want you guys to be aware of, it is hard to do this stuff, but it is also hard to be physically unfit. It is hard to be unhealthy. It is hard to get chronic diseases. All that stuff is hard. Life is not easy, folks. So choose your hard. And I can promise you, if you choose to do the hard thing every morning, like go to the gym or get some sunlight or get your sleep schedule right and get your diet right, that is a better option, and you will live a healthier and longer life because of it. And we know that now, not only based on the intuition as a human being and knowing that our bodies are meant to move and it's not healthy to be sedentary, but we also know that from great scientists like Dr. Elaine Norton and Huberman and all these good stuff. So that link is in the chat. You guys can check it out. But let's jump into the lesson. The science of stress management, balancing your mind and body. So I broke today into 2 parts: understanding the effects of stress on health and performance. And then part 2 is effective stress reduction techniques. So part 2 is just going to be some practical tools that you can incorporate in your daily life that will really help on a physiological level, pull chronic stress out of your blood and essentially make you a healthier human being. And just quickly, as a precursor to this lesson, if you are just getting started in your trading journey, you may not realize it now, but trading is an extremely stressful activity. It is a career or a side hustle, whatever you want to call it, that will produce cortisol in your bloodstream, adrenaline, even if it's subconscious. So be aware of that. For those of you who have been trading for some time, you know that this is a stress inducing activity. So let's talk about how to reduce this stuff. So part 1, understanding the effects of stress on health and performance. So this little subsection is the physiological impacts of stress. So the impacts of stress on your body. So stress triggers the release of hormones like cortisol, epinephrine, norepinephrine, which prepare the body for a fight or flight response. Prolonged stress can lead to health issues such as high blood pressure, weakened immunity, and disrupted sleep patterns. And we know sleep is so important. So recognizing the physical signs of stress, like increased heart rate and muscle tension, is the first step in addressing it effectively. And again, we're going to go over how to address that in part 2. So what about the psychological impacts of stress? The impacts of stress on your mind. So stress affects cognitive functions, including focus, decision-making, and emotional regulation. I'm going to say that one more time for those of you who are half listening right now. Stress affects the cognitive functions, including focus, decision-making, and emotional regulation. Do any of those ring a bell when we talk about how important some fundamentals are when it comes to trading? All of those should have lit up in your head. Focus, decision-making, and especially emotional regulation is so essential to becoming a consistent, long-term, and profitable trader. So I just want you guys to be aware, again, stress is playing a massive role in your ability to perform at a high level when it comes to trading. So chronic stress may contribute to anxiety, depression, and reduced performance in personal and professional tasks. So a quick tip for us who you understand and you feel a little bit of stress in your life. Maybe it's consistent throughout the day. You can't seem to find an opportunity to take a deep breath and enjoy the present moment. Journaling can really help. So I recommend that you journal your thoughts. So journaling your thoughts can help identify stress triggers and improve emotional clarity. My dad, when I was growing up, used to always say, he ran a couple businesses. He used to always say that you cannot manage what you cannot measure. And when we talk about managing our own emotions, our own mind, and you have to be able to measure that somehow. And journaling is just a entryway into your mind, and you're really able to sit there. And if you've never tried journaling, I just highly recommend just giving it a shot. You have nothing to lose. You sit down, you will not know what to write about. Just start writing about your day, start writing about your thoughts, and then you will slowly start to unfold some or unpack some luggage that you may have onto the piece of paper or whatever it might be. So it's just a really good way to measure specific triggers, emotional responses in your life, and then you can start working on them. Because if they stay in the subconscious realm, you're never going to be able to get rid of them. It's not possible. It's just not in the cards unless you bring that to a cognitive level where it's in front of your face. So we know the physiological and psychological impacts of stress on us. Now let's talk about some effective stress reduction techniques. So what are some actual practical tools and protocols that we can incorporate to lower this stress that is hindering our trading ability? So mindfulness meditation. I talk about this often. For those of you who grew up more traditional, especially in the Western aspect or the Western side of the world, mindful meditation was never taught. Maybe it was if you, had a non-traditional family growing up in the West. But I know for me growing up and in the schooling system and society, meditation was never promoted at all. And now we have all this amazing scientific data to show how powerful meditation is for reducing stress and improving focus, reducing brain fog, all sorts of good stuff. So mindfulness focuses on being fully present in the moment, reducing mental clutter and enhancing emotional balance. So if you just spend 5 minutes daily focusing on your breath and observing your thoughts without judgment, you will see a massive uptick in not only your overall outlook on life. I know when I started being present and practicing things like gratitude daily, my baseline went from honestly pretty shitty, feeling down consistently, to a baseline of happy, a baseline of grateful, of just having the breath of my life. And it's just a very powerful thing. And everybody who's tried it will tell you the same thing. And my question to you, if you have not tried it, what do you have to lose? You have everything to gain, but you have nothing to lose except for 5 minutes. It's a really cost-free and easy thing to do to really help yourself in the long run. So I recommend it. And I want to focus on that last thought in that sentence. Observing your thoughts without judgment. How often do you judge your thoughts? And that may be a question that you've never asked yourself, but for those of us who have gone through trauma, and if you have lived long enough, I can assure you, you have gone through some trauma in your life. How well did you deal with that trauma? Were you were you talking to a licensed therapist, able to work through that all in really healthy ways and are totally over it and you can talk about it freely without any emotional response? If not, you have to start incorporating things in your life like journaling. I would highly recommend going to a therapist if you can afford it and if you think it's right for you. But that was a little off subject. Back to observing your thoughts without judgment. When you have specific thoughts in your life that can be really jarring sometimes, especially for those of us with high trauma, things that have happened that we didn't have control over and we never fully processed, potentially as a child, but even into our adult lives. There's some thought patterns, we call them ants, automatic negative thoughts, that can occur in. Oftentimes the mental response to it is to run away from those thoughts, to not sit down and ask why I'm having these thoughts, but to kind of block them out, find a distraction for yourself, and potentially end up on social media, doom scrolling, or whatever unhealthy habit you have formed to avoid those thoughts. It's really common, and you may have not even, thought about this before, but if you really do start to think about certain thought patterns that you have that are really negative, don't run from them. Sit down in a space that you feel comfortable with the notepad in front of you, and ask yourself, why am I having these thoughts? And to take it a step further, like I alluded to earlier, is, if you need it, and I would highly recommend it, find a good therapist, like have help working through this stuff. So I know these are supposed to be some cost-free, efficient tools to reduce stress in your life, but if you truly are wanting to optimize your life as a whole, and especially your trading, things like seeing a therapist for these ants, your automatic negative thoughts, can be really beneficial. But on the base level, what we should all be trying to do is mindfulness meditation, taking those 5 minutes, just focusing on your breath every day. So I know that was a little bit of a tangent, but it is so important. I see so many people who could really, really benefit from therapy, and it's just not talked about enough. It's potentially, especially in traditional cultures and the Western side of the world, it's really looked down on. And I'm just here to try to break through the stuff that's not based on science. It's just kind of tradition, and it doesn't make sense. So anyway, moving on to deep breathing. Controlled breathing slows the heart rate and reduces stress levels, promoting relaxation. So I bring up this point because we just talked about focusing on your breath. I bring up specifically deep breathing because it is the fastest way that we know of, that the scientific community knows of how to reduce cortisol, so stress in your blood in real time. So taking a deep breath, something like the Wim Hof method, box breathing, physiological sigh, the 4-7-8 technique. If you guys have questions about any of those, I'd be happy to walk you through them. But especially the physiological sigh has shown to, in real time, they took their blood work before and after. They just did 2 of these breathing techniques for potentially 30 seconds to 2 minutes, and they saw massive reductions of adrenaline and cortisol in the bloodstream. So essentially, if you feel yourself getting worked up or having an emotional response to a trade or whatever it might be, I highly recommend sitting back in your chair or wherever you might be trading and really focusing on your breath. And the Wim Hof method is potentially the easiest way. And there's a portion of holding your breath, but you can alterate it to whatever works for you. It's really easy. Essentially take 30 deep breaths to fully inflate your lungs, and then exhale to fully deflate your lungs, and do that 30 times. Really, really beneficial. And the physiological sigh is just one large inhale through the nose, followed by one more sharp inhale through the nose to fully inflate those alveoli, I believe they're called, in those little sacs in your lungs. It not only reduces cortisol and stress, it resets your oxygen to carbon dioxide levels in your bloodstream. It's just all sorts of good stuff. So highly recommend breathing. Look at that. I recommend breathing, folks. But no, truly, a lot of people just forget how to, take a deep breath, and it just helps so much when you feel yourself having one of those emotional, outbursts or whatever it might be. Just breathe, just relax. I know it's much easier said than done when you're in the moment. And our last point today, we have progressive muscle relaxation, or PMR. And this is something we haven't talked about before. I've talked about grounding and using, I forget the terminology or the nomenclature, but essentially moving down your body, feeling where you have potentially tight muscles, essentially, and relaxing, starting from your scalp, moving to your forehead, to your eyebrows, to your cheeks, to your jaw, to your neck, and just moving down the body, feeling every single muscle until you are fully relaxed. So PMR is essentially a very similar thing. So progressive muscle relaxation involves tensing and relaxing different muscle groups to release physical tension. So starting, either with your scalp or with your feet, you can tense each muscle group for 5 seconds and then release and then move to the next muscle group. So you could tense your toes and then your feet and then your calves and then your thighs, your quads and your hams, your glutes, just working your way up the body, and you will feel a physical sensation of relaxation. And you can couple this so you're not wasting any time. I know many traders like to be very efficient. You can couple this with some deep breathing. So if you do feel yourself at any time a little stressed out or you're having an emotional reaction, which oftentimes those two come in pairs, when you're trading or whatever it might be, you can try this. Maybe stand up, maybe go outside, or just do it in your chair. Focus on that breath, maybe like the Wim Hof, 30 full inhales and full exhales while you're doing the progressive muscle relaxation, starting from your toes, tensing the muscles for 5 seconds, and then relaxing, and then moving to the next part. And by the end of that, it would probably take you 2 minutes or less. By the end of that, I promise you will feel more relaxed. And it's not only a physical relaxation of tense muscles, it's also in your bloodstream. The cortisol and adrenaline is going to be lowered. And then if you're I can't speak today. If your nervous system was in that fight or flight state, it will move to the rest and digest, as they call it, the parasympathetic. And as soon as you're finished, it's like, holy crap, you're a new person. You're thinking more clearly. You're able to make analytical, decision-based, analytical decisions. And you can just really start to optimize how you trade. Because if you are someone, and it's very common, who is struggling with how to, follow your plan. It's, I could hand you the perfect risk management plan, and I would guarantee 99% of people coming off the streets are still going to fail. They're still not going to be able to follow that plan through because of these stressors, these emotional reactions that we have. And they're primitive, they're natural, they come and go. But techniques like this will really, really help you move about trading in a much healthier way, in a much more progressive way. And you can really start to stack these good habits. Shoot, think about it, guys. In 3 months, if you were to incorporate this every single day, either following Joe's trades or, following ICT, whatever strategy works for you, working with me or yourself with a trading journal to come up with a risk management plan, and you incorporate things for emotional regulation and stress reduction, you will be miles ahead of whoever else is jumping into this without focusing on the psychological and the physiology of how much this stuff affects you. So I know there's a couple tangents in there. I was shooting for a shorter lesson, but this stuff is super important, and most of them are completely cost-free. Mindfulness, meditation, deep breathing, progressive muscle relaxation, all this stuff is totally free of cost. You can do it while sitting in your chair. All you have to do is execute, folks. So I'll leave you guys with this. By understanding the physiological and psychological effects of stress and incorporating techniques like mindfulness, deep breathing, and progressive muscle relaxation, you can effectively manage stress, balance your mind and body, and improve overall well-being, all of which is just on point of what we want to try to accomplish when we talk about being an effective and profitable trader. So I really hope this helps.